to the One to Another podcast. My name is Joanne, and today I want to talk to you about thank you power. I'm not sure, but I think all of us, or most of us, learned thank you when we were pretty young. Because my parents were deaf, my dad did show me and tell me how to say thank you in sign language. And I certainly have used that all the years that I had my parents. And today I would just send them a thank you for everything they taught me about being thankful. You know, we were raised in a family, my sister and I were raised in a family where both of my parents were deaf, and my grandmother came to live with us when we were pretty young. I think maybe 6 and 8, because she wanted to make sure that we had a good education. And she was always telling us over and over again and showing us how important it was to express thanks. She was a great cook. And so we didn't live very far from the church that we went to. And so mostly on Sundays, she would have pot roast and homemade rolls and apple pie or whatever kind of pie and, mashed potatoes and gravy. And she always had a lot of abundance, even though we weren't rich. But she wanted to have people come to our home. She felt it was important to have not only deaf people come to our home, but hearing people. And so she would set the table in our dining room, and it would be just very, very beautiful. And here she would come in with all this wonderful food. And it was always the thing is that we passed the food around. Everybody helped themselves, and then you pass to the next person. And when I was dating Dwayne before I married him, I think the first time he ever came to our house to eat, she had this wonderful big bowl of gravy. And here he put some mashed potatoes on his plate and some meat, and somebody handed him the gravy, and it slipped out of his hands, and all the gravy was poured all over his plate and his clothes, and he was absolutely horrified that happened. But I'll never forget that, because that was his introduction to having dinner at the Hill household. But he did live through it. And one of my grandmother's favorite traits, absolutely her favorite trait, is when dinner was over and we'd had this wonderful dinner, and if somebody didn't say, "Thank you, Grandma," right away, this is what she'd say. "Well, I just think this was the best Sunday dinner I've ever fixed, and I know you're all thankful for it, but I need you to say that to me. Mamie, this was the best meal I've eaten all week." She was honest and sincere about it, that she wanted feedback right away. And she always got it right then, too, because we all wanted her to know how much we appreciated all the food that she would fix. But thank you power is important. If you want to be happy, focus on what you've got, not what you've not. Because so many times we forget, well, I have this, but I don't have that. Did you know that people who are most thankful are more optimistic, exercise more, think more creatively, bounce back from adversity faster, less intimidated by challenges, have higher immune response, more alert and interested, more adventurous, live longer, more likely to help others, more likable, more tolerant, better boss or team member. They feel better about their lives as a whole. They get more sleep, make progress towards more important goals. And the last one is less envious of those with more possessions. And I think that's true, that when we are thankful, we are less envious of people who have more possessions than we do. So what I wanted you to see is that regardless of your age, your belief system, your financial satisfaction, your security, your optimism, the best thing that happens to all of us is thank you. Thank you. In society these days, a sense of entitlement is found everywhere, from a child who expects an A on their report card without the test scores to back it up, to the office worker who wants a promotion despite lackluster of performance. Who hasn't been annoyed by the loudmouth with a cell phone in an elevator, or shocked when we have a guest that forgets to say thank you? You know, I really do believe that we have a whole lot to be thankful for every single day. Practicing gratitude, acknowledging the blessings of your life, makes a point for you to recognize the good things. And I believe once you recognize them, I think it helps you be much more positive. You'll be healthier, happier, and able to handle the stresses of your day by simply saying thank you. Maybe you ought to spend a few more minutes focusing on the good things that happen, the things that you could write in your thank you book that make you feel more alert, active. And if you find yourself doing that for a period of time, you might realize that you're moving closer to the goals in your life. People who feel positive think differently. They think better. People who feel good don't become Pollyannas, though they're more inclined to help others. They just sense it's very important for them to be a thankful person. I can tell you something that I found out in the last few months. There was a time in walking through Ron's death and moving and having so many decisions to make that there were some days that I began to feel hopeless. And I thought to myself, what is the matter with you? And I started immediately writing down things for which I was thankful for. And I turned the hopelessness into hope. And I said to myself, I didn't talk to anybody else. I said to myself, you have written down for years things for which you're thankful. Now you're practicing it in a place where things seem to be overwhelmingly difficult. You just need to sit down and count your blessings. And as I began to write them, the hopelessness began to lift. And I thought, you know what? Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And I choose to be the kind of person that grows in the middle of frustration, of challenge, of wondering if I did make some right decisions. And so I found out that something that I'd done for a long time, it was deep enough in me that when that hopelessness began, I realized I could move through it. You know, it's hard to grow where you're planted when the rest of the garden is filled with toxic weeds. But I've learned that thank you power can be an excellent weed killer. And that's what it did. It killed the hopelessness that was surrounding me. And I was so grateful that I could find the thing that I did the most was the thing that helped me move again from being hopeless to hopeful. You know, it's like polishing your nails. If you want them to always look good, you've got to keep them up. Visit the manicurist and you look great for a week. You have to keep it up though. But if you fail to make a return visit, your hands will soon look pretty grim. Writing a gratitude letter or jotting down what you're grateful for might make you feel good for a day or a week. But if you don't keep it up, your outlet can become dark. And I know that. If you try it on for size for 1 month and you notice good changes, you can't assume those are permanent changes. It takes intentional effort. It's sort of something that you need to weave into your life on a regular basis and have it a habit that you do daily. And I truly believe that selfish acts don't come back to repay you. Only selfless acts do. And so, as I have developed that deep habit of really counting my blessings, then it reminds me again of that story in the Bible of the 10 lepers. Remember, there was 10 lepers, and Jesus came across their path, and they said, heal me, heal us. And he said to them, Jesus said to them, go to the temple like you have to do to get cleansed, and all 10 of them were healed. But you know what happened? Only one of them came back to thank Jesus. And it says he got down on his face and he thanked him for healing him from leprosy. So, how many times have we asked for healing and we received the healing, but we forgot to return our thanks to the healer? I do believe that it is important to remember these things. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. Most people do. There's some people who don't. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. That's what Dr. Seuss said. And I believe it's true that if you decide that you really want to become a person that's thankful, then I believe that's something you've got to choose. And so I want to ask you, who will you make a point to say thank you to today? Are you willing to write a letter of gratitude to someone? Silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. Are you willing to focus on something of beauty and share it with someone else? There's a Swedish proverb that says, happiness shared is happiness doubled. There is no disaster that can't become a blessing. Maybe today you might list as many positive life events as possible. Focus on a bad situation and see how you can turn it around for good. Only a man who knows what it's like to be defeated can reach down to the bottom of his soul and come up with the power it takes to win. So, the challenge for today is, are you going to take the time to count your blessings? Maybe you just call somebody on the phone and say, I just want to thank you for being my friend. I want to thank you for calling me up, inviting me to go to Starbucks and have a cup of hot chocolate or a cup of tea. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to do that. Or maybe just calling somebody and saying, I think I'm going to make some chocolate chip cookies this afternoon. Do you want to come over and help me? And then guess what? You can take some home and we can just have fun doing something, because I want you to know I'm really thankful for your friendship. There's so much that we could do. We just have to decide that we're going to do it. I want to say this. Welcome the unexpected in life. Learn to bend with grace. Let yourself grow, be humble, and never forget to look for the beauty changes can bring. So I'm in my cottage. The leaves are almost gone. I don't know how many times they've come to rake them up, but they're almost gone. Soon we're going to see wreaths on our front door, Christmas tree lights on windows and roofs, and maybe a Christmas tree in your house, or maybe something special that you're going to make and put it up and say, this is what I'm creating. But I believe that once you begin to be thankful, creativity can be released, and you can see something special that you built to add the joy and the remembrance of being thankful. Take that one step today, and just remember, I'm learning how to do this too in my corner, and I'm in your corner too.